Hi guys, welcome back to another video of our electric starter kit series. Now, we've announced to you a while back the electric starter kit for the CRF150R. It was about time we get back to you with more detail and a complete installed video about that product. Now let's get going. So, let's start by disassembling a few parts on here to install the new starter housing that's going to be replacing the starter cover, the stator cover, Now, while the installation of that kit is going to be very simple, as you will see, the cover that we've designed itself had to be quite a little complicated, as in the Honda CRF, there's a few things going on the stator cover side. There's the oil filters here. There's also in there oil pressure regulator. The stator is in the cover itself, the dipstick, the clutch cable. So there's a few things going on here that's all been integrated to the housing. So we're going to be stealing a few things in the housing itself, like the stator, install it on the housing, and then putting everything back on. So let's start by disassembling a few things. We took a little bit of head start by removing the shifter to make some room already, and the oil is already dropped. Now you only need to remove the engine crankshaft oil side. You do not need to empty the transmission oil, though you could pair that full install with a complete maintenance of your engine and replace both oil and do an engine maintenance at the same time. So 8 mil X pretty much everywhere, so we'll be dismantling the whole housing and then starts the stealing part on it. So let's go. All right, now as you can see, we also took liberty before the video to just clean up all the whole gasket surface. We don't need to clean that cover, as we're not going to be reusing it anyway, but this needs to be perfectly clean before you reinstall everything, and so it seals properly. Now, we do supply you with a brand new gasket to put on, so you don't need to worry about that one. All right, so few things we're going to be taking as mentioned. We are going to be taking the stator off, which are Phillips screws. The pickup coil is going to come with it. Now, as mentioned, we do have the oil pressure regulator, so it's a little snap ring to remove here, and the regulator is going to come off. Now, we're also going to be taking the snap ring from the oil seal in the middle of the cover and the washer. The seal itself has been already installed for you in the new housing, so you don't have to mess with that. Just take the snap ring and washer from the original cover and you will be good to go. So let's start with that. We can now go on the table just to do that part of the process. Let's go right here. We will be removing that little snap ring right here, as well as the one for the oil seal. There we go. Pressure regulator should come off. Oh, that's the washer and the regulator. Little tap. There we go. So we took everything we wanted from that guy. So same thing, same design. Let's put the regulator in the new housing. Make sure that the whole ring's still on there. It's not damaged, anything. I just want to make sure that it goes same way in the cover. And the washer goes right here on top of the oil seal. So, I'm going to put in the snap rings back here. a groove and it clicks. Right, and then the one for the pressure regulator. Right here. Fully in place. All right. Now let's go back on the bike, put the stator on. We're supplying you with some new stator bolt. I don't really like those Phillips screws. You can't really tighten them properly, so some nice socket heads are supplied with the kit, just so that you can secure properly your stator. We do recommend a bit of blue Loctite on there. Right here, as a precaution, make sure that your stator doesn't come loose. Now, so same way as on the original cover, stator, make sure the cable goes in place properly. Don't forget the retaining tab for the wire to make sure that they go where they need to. So let's start by the stator itself. Alright, so that's done. We're going to be putting aside the cover for now. Just leave it there. Don't need to put it very far. Next thing is going to be installing starter gears. So we're going to be removing the flywheel and putting the main starter gear on it and preparing everything for the rest of the gear assembly. So let's start by removing that one. All right, let's get back on the bench real quick. Now we have the flywheel that we just removed. We're going to be installing the main starter gear on top of it. Now in the CRF, the starter gear is fixed and we have a Bendix design in order to activate the starter. So as you can see, we got two tabs in the gear that goes in the holes in the flywheel. So we're going to be putting this on and bolting the gear from the inside to the flywheel. We're going to be putting some red Loctite to make sure it doesn't come off and torque it properly as instructed in the manual. So. Okay, so gear installed, we can put it back on the motorcycle. Right here, just align the wood rough on the keyway. There we go. Nuts back on and washer still on. I prefer put as well a little bit of blue Loctite on that one. That's one of my thing. I don't know if it's actually in the Honda manual. Put it in place with the gun and then we'll torque it to spec. There we go. A bit of extra Loctite on there. Make sure to move it. Little. Okay, so flywheel is torqued in place. Now the Bendix is going to be positioned on the balancer of the engine itself, actually. So we're going to be installing a bearing inside the balancer shaft. So we're supplying you with a needle bearing. It has what we call a tolerance ring to make sure to accommodate for any possible deviation or variance in the machining of Honda. This will adapt and compensate. This is actually designed by an American company. It's made to old bearings like that. So we supplied you with a tool, a little punch to put the bearing in place. So we're going to be putting it in the balancer itself. Here. all the way through. There we go. We do now have the bearing in place. So everything's ready to put the cover back on and then install the gear for the final assembly. So we do supply you with a brand new gasket, so don't forget to put it on. Go. So we haven't forgot anything, so we're ready to put the cover back in place. So make sure you align everything properly. Go, align both dowels. All right. We're supplying you with new bolts because some have really low clearance. So we're supplying you with socket heads bolts, Allen 5, to put that cover back in place. So let's install every bolt. Make it a little easier, we're going to be putting the clutch cable right away, right here. As you see, you don't need the bracket anymore. This is integrated in the housing itself. So we're going to be removing that bracket and putting the clutch cable in place. So once it's all adjusted and well, you can secure that clutch cable and the square nut is right on there. All good. So now the cover is on. One good thing to do, make sure everything is fine, is to you can use the kickstart to rotate the engine. Now we've tested that cover before, so I'm not going to do it, but a little crank of kickstart, make sure everything rotates, is a good habit to do. Now, as we talked earlier, we can now put the electric motor on right here. One thing we forgot to do about the OEM cover actually is the oil filter. So as you can see, we're going to be reusing the same oil filter cap that was on the original cover, so let's remove that one, and then we will be installing a brand new filter, of course, and putting the cap back on. So right, so we're not going to be reusing that. We are, on the other hand, going to be reusing that spring, which is necessary, so don't forget it, really important. Now, as you can see, this cap is essential for relocating the oil in all the oil passages of the housing. Now, you can't put it backward, it's not symmetrical. All those oils, if you come here and see, it's been designed in our housing to have all the exact same oil passages. So it'll realign and put the oil exactly where the engine needs it to be. So you're just going to be reusing that cap and that spring and put a brand new filter in. And make sure that the O-ring is clean. And we'll go back in, just like in the OEM cover. Perfect. All right, so we're ready to put the gears in now. So we'll start with the Bendix itself. So you'll align it with the bearing we put in the balancer shaft. Just gotta find, there we go, location. Second gear is what we call a crown gear. It runs 90 degrees on the motor shaft and then meshes to the Bendix itself. So you'll put it right there. And we'll be ready to put the cap back on. Make sure that the gasket is properly located and install it in both gears right here. There we go. So we supply you with 4 bolts for these as well. Always good to use a little bit of blue Loctite. And we'll be torquing this to 90 inch-pounds. Final thing we're going to be installing here is the OEM guard. Now the new housing is a little thicker in that area, so we supply you with a shim. Very simple extension and shim, just to space it out a little bit, and we'll be able to put that back on. All right, so that's in place. We're now ready to put some oil back in. Now, little thing on the dipstick itself, because of all the gears and everything, we had to relocate the dipstick a little bit, so your full capacity is going to be approximately halfway in between the 2 lines. So you can either make yourself a new mark on it, but the original max capacity is halfway. We'll actually tell you exactly how many millimeters in the manual, but so just if you need to know. So let's put some oil back in there, normal Honda HP4 engine oil, and we'll be all done with the mechanical part of the assembly. All right, we're done with the mechanical part of the assembly. Now, only thing remaining is to put the battery box underneath the seat in the airbox, run the wires, and we're done. We're ready for riding. So let's remove the seat and start the installation of the electrical assembly. So the battery box actually going to be sitting right here in between the frame rails on top of the air filter, just like that. And it's going to be kept in place by the seat itself. So we're going to tuck everything in, run the wires underneath the fuel tank all the way up to the handlebars. We got 2 wires which are going to go to the electric motor, and the push button that's going to go to the handlebar. So let's run this up. We're gonna do it real quick, but you can take your time and really zip tie everything up when you do it, and then fasten the button on the handlebar. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so ground wire on the engine bolt right there, positive wire on the motor terminal. Oh, wrong one. That's a 10. Put the safety grommet right on top. There we go. So one final thing. Let's real quick put the starter button on. We'll put it right here just for the sake of it. All right, let's try this up. Choke, maybe. There you have it, guys. CRF150R electric start. Cheers.